Hello YouTube. Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting the Fan, and yes, I have another BookTube video for you. The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by the Zoraida Córdova. And of course I'm going to have Drake, more commonly known as my awesome audiovisual person, for my YouTube videos, do a close-up of the cover of the book. And in a few moments, I'm going to read to you, well actually before I read the synopsis to you, let me just say that this is the first adult book written by the Zoraida Córdova, because she does specialize in young adult novels, or at least that's my understanding of her as a published author and as a writer. It is absolutely it's a mesmerizing book. And, well, let me just read the synopsis and then I'll talk a little bit more about the book. So, the stars have shifted. The earth has turned. The time is here. I am dying. Come and collect your inheritance. The Montoyas are used to a life without explanations. But when their matriarch, Orquídea Divina, which literally means divine orchid, invites them to her funeral, they hope to learn the secrets that she has held onto so tightly their whole lives. Instead, Orquídea is transformed, leaving them with more questions than answers. 7 years later, her gifts have manifested in different ways for Marimar, Ray, and Rhiannon, granting them unexpected blessings. But soon, a hidden figure begins to tear through their family tree, working to destroy Orquídea's line. Determined to save their family and uncover the truth behind their inheritance, they travel to Ecuador, to the place where Orquídea buried her secrets and broken promises and never looked back. Alternating between Orquídea's past and her descendants' present, The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina is about what we knowingly and unknowingly inherit from our ancestors, the ties that bind, and reclaiming our power. And now I'm going to read to you the bio of the Zoraida Córdova. She is the acclaimed author of more than a dozen novels and short stories, including the Brooklyn Brujas series and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, A Crush of Fate. She serves on the board of We Need Diverse Books, is the co-editor of the best-selling anthology Vampires Never Get Old. I still want to buy that one, as well as her other anthology, Mermaids Never Drown, and co-hosts the writing podcast Deadline City. She writes romance novels. Thank you, Apollo, but I'm doing a video. I don't know if that means anything to you, but if you don't mind. She writes romance novels as Zoe Castile, and Zoraida was born in Guayaquil, Ecuador, and calls New York City home. For more information, visit her at zoraidacordova.com. I want to tell you, so, you know, this is my first time reading a novel written by the Zoraida Córdova that is not only not young adult, that it's really for adults, number one, and number two, it's a totally different world. I mean, yes, there is the magical realism, yes, there are the plot twists up the yin-yang, but it fascinates me. Probably because there's so much of Guayaquil, Ecuador in, or rather represented in this novel. And keep in mind, that is the Zoraida Córdova's birthplace. So I'm also learning about the culture of Ecuador, Ecuadorian culture, and it just fascinates me. You know, this is a book that more than any of her other books really needs to be savored as long as possible. I am currently roughly in the middle of chapter 10, The Hunger of the Living. And there are 4 parts. So, let's see. So part 1, Invitation to Witness a Death. Part 2, Hibernation. Part 3, The Hunt for the Living Star. And part 4, Hasta la Raíz, which means, la raíz means the race, as in the human race, the Hispanic race. Hasta la, I forgot what hasta means. It's spelled H-A-S-T-A. I'll need to look it up, and I'll make sure to include it in the description box for this video. But it fascinates me just how vast, how extensive, how detailed the world building is insanely good. That is something that in the short time that I've been reading books written by the Zoraida Córdova, she is a master of world building. She really is. And truly, so much happens in her books. So much happens in her novels. And really, I mean, again, I'm only a few pages into chapter 10, and yet so much has happened. And, you know, one thing I will say is that I know that there are some people that don't like flashbacks and flash forwards. I'm not going to mention any names. Drake. Yeah, I mentioned a name. So if you're not a fan of continuous flashbacks and flash forwards, this might be a bit of a challenge for you to read. But I will tell you, in the short time that I've been reading this book, it has fascinated me. It has intrigued me. It's even mystified me, because there are some things that have happened to some of the characters already that's like, where'd that come from? How did that happen? And of course, you know, one thing that I'm noticing about the novels written by the Zoraida Córdova, I'm also learning more about Hispanic culture. You know, every culture has their fairies and their demons and their guides and whatnot. And there are terms that I never even heard of until I began reading the books written by the Zoraida Córdova. So I must tell you, it's a fascinating journey. It really mystifies me. And, you know, I know that there's more coming. So if you've read this book, let me know in the comments. Please, no spoilers, or at least try not to give me a spoiler. I mean, I'm still going to read the book anyway. And if you have not yet read anything written by the Zoraida Córdova, I cannot over-recommend reading any of her books. But yeah, I'm just intrigued. And by the way, this is... I need to be careful when I read certain books, regardless of the author or the publishing house, because I might miss my stop on a bus or a train. It has happened more than once. It's a little embarrassing, but that's how some books, that's what some books do for me. It's like, oh, I was supposed to get off there. I need to get off here so I can go back there. It happened on my way to the most recent Bookhaven Books Silent Book Club meetup, where I began reading this book. You know, I'll tell you. But anyway, as always, I am most thankful to the Zoraida Córdova for writing so many amazing books. Of course, I'm thankful to Tara, the living goddess of Bookhaven Books, for introducing me to the Zoraida Córdova, or rather introducing me to the books written by the Zoraida Córdova. And of course, I am so thankful to all of you in YouTube land for all the likes, all the comments, all the shares, and all the subscriptions to my YouTube channel. And an extra big and beautiful thank you to those of you who have already scheduled your sessions, including the individual who's having a phone reading with me. this Friday, May 24th, 2024. Somebody who's been using my psychic services for more than 30 years. Can you imagine? Anyway, I wish all of you a beautiful night and a wonderful weekend. As always, stay in tune with your intuition, stay safe, stay well, stay hydrated, and stay tuned for the next video.